This is the man that clung to the wing of a biplane flying 10,000 feet in the air and passed out multiple times during filming. At 62 years old, well, if there's any actor in Hollywood who is truly one of a kind, it's definitely Tom Cruise. The actor that defied everything we know about aging in Hollywood, broken every stunt record in the industry, and delivered one of the highest grossing films of all time at an age when most actors are playing grandfathers. He's conquered fears that would paralyze ordinary humans, risking his life repeatedly for our entertainment. He's also been exposed for bizarre behind-the-scenes behavior that's both impressed and terrified his co-stars, and his personal life remains one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. But there's one thing that stands above everything else. Tom Cruise might actually be the last true movie star on planet Earth, and it all comes down to one thing. This man simply knows no limits. When Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 hit theaters 2 summers ago, it featured Tom Cruise hanging off the side of a train as it derailed off a cliff. Then he jumped off that train midair and went into a base jump from the falling train. This wasn't CGI. This was Tom Cruise actually doing this stunt. At 61 years old, the scene took them 15 attempts to get right, meaning Tom had to perform this death-defying stunt over and over again. When asked why he continues to push these boundaries, he simply said, "No one asked Gene Kelly why he danced." This philosophy of pushing limits isn't new for Tom. Back in 1986 when filming Top Gun, the studio didn't want the actors actually flying in F-14 fighter jets. But Tom insisted. The result was some of the most realistic aerial combat scenes ever filmed at that point. And when he returned 36 years later for Top Gun: Maverick, he didn't just fly in the jets again. He designed an entire flight training program for his co-stars so they could handle the G-forces and actually be filmed inside real F-18 Super Hornets. Glenn Powell, who starred alongside Tom in Maverick, shared stories about the intense training. Tom designed this 3-month training program where we'd go up in different airplanes with increasing G-forces to get our G-tolerance up. We started in small propeller planes, then went to an aerobatic prop plane called the Extra 300, where you're pulling 6 Gs. Then we went into the L-39 jet, where you're pulling 8 Gs. The idea was to get to the F-18, where we'd pull 9.5 Gs on camera without passing out or throwing up on Tom's million-dollar cameras. This intensity isn't limited to aviation. For Mission Impossible Fallout, Tom learned to fly a helicopter and performed a dangerous 360-degree spiral dive, something even experienced pilots avoid. He trained for a year and a half to pull off the sequence. Cruise's longtime stunt coordinator, Wade Eastwood, explained, "Tom has the ability and willingness to put in the work. Most actors would do a few days of training and say, 'I got it.' Tom spent 16 hours a day for months until he was performing at the level of professional helicopter pilots with thousands of flight hours. But perhaps the most insane example of Tom's commitment came when filming Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. The script called for his character Ethan Hunt to climb the outside of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the tallest building in the world. Instead of using a stunt double or green screen, Tom insisted on actually climbing the building himself. He was attached to the building with thin safety wires that were later digitally removed. At nearly 2,722 feet high, the slightest equipment failure would have meant certain death. The film's insurance company initially refused to cover the stunt, forcing the production to find specialized coverage. Director Brad Bird recalled, "There was a moment where Tom was hanging outside the building, and a wind gust came up and slammed him into the side. Everyone gasped, but Tom just kept going, like nothing happened. Later, I asked if he was scared, and he said, 'Of course I'm scared. But I managed the fear. You can't stop the fear. You just have to funnel it into focus.'" When his co-star Jeremy Renner was asked about the experience, he said, "After watching Tom dangle 1,700 feet in the air, I'll never complain on a movie set again." The guy redefined what's possible for an actor. Part of what makes Tom so fascinating is that he's been doing this for decades. Most action stars slow down in their 40s, taking fewer physical roles and relying more on younger stunt doubles. Not Tom. If anything, his stunts have gotten more extreme as he's aged. For the movie Mission Impossible 8, which he filmed at age 61, Tom performed what's being called the most dangerous stunt in cinema history, riding a motorcycle off a massive cliff in Norway, then free-falling before opening his parachute. The preparation was intense even by Tom's standards. He did over 500 skydiving jumps and 13,000 motocross jumps to prepare. The crew built a specialized ramp on a Norwegian mountainside, and Tom had to hit the takeoff at precisely the right speed. Too slow, and he wouldn't clear the rocky outcroppings. Too fast, and the landing would be fatal even with a parachute. Director Christopher McQuarrie described it. "The only thing that scared me more than the thought of doing the stunt was the thought of having to tell Tom he couldn't do it. When we finally filmed it, everyone went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. After he landed safely, the entire crew burst into tears." But Tom's extreme dedication isn't limited to stunts. His intensity extends to every aspect of filmmaking, sometimes in ways that have shocked his colleagues. During the filming of The Last Samurai, Tom insisted that the swords used in the samurai battle scenes be real, not rubber props. His co-star Hiroyuki Sanada accidentally caught Tom's neck during a fight scene. The blade missed his jugular vein by half an inch. Simon Pegg, who appeared in multiple Mission Impossible films with Tom, provided insight into working with him. Tom operates at a different frequency than most humans. There's no such thing as good enough for him. On set, he's the first to arrive and the last to leave. If something isn't working, he'll stay all night figuring it out. This need for control extends to Tom's personal life as well. He's known for traveling with his own special mattress and an entire security team. He reportedly has houses all over the world, but spends most of his time living in secured compounds. His relationships with his children, especially his daughter Suri from his marriage to Katie Holmes, remain mysterious, with reports suggesting he hasn't seen her in years due to complications related to his deep involvement with Scientology. Tom's connection to Scientology remains perhaps the most controversial aspect of his life. He was introduced to the religion by his first wife, Mimi Rogerson, the late 1980s, and has since become its most high-profile member. The church's leader, David Miscavige, even served as best man at his wedding to Katie Holmes. Former Scientologists have claimed that Tom is treated like royalty within the organization, with staff members reportedly working for minimal pay to renovate his properties and cater to his needs. Leah Remini, a former Scientologist who became one of the organization's most vocal critics, has claimed, "Tom is seen as a deity within Scientology. He is second to David Miscavige, the savior of the free world." The 2015 documentary Going Clear suggested that the church had even helped Tom find girlfriends and worked to break up his relationship with Nicole Kidman when she was perceived as pulling him away from the religion. Despite the controversy, Tom has never wavered in his commitment to Scientology, once saying, "It's something that has helped me incredibly in my life. I've been a Scientologist for over 30 years. It's something that I'm very proud of." Despite all the controversies and eccentricities, what's undeniable is Tom's impact on Hollywood. In an age of declining theater attendance and the rise of streaming, Tom Cruise remains perhaps the last true movie star who can consistently draw audiences to theaters. Top Gun: Maverick grossed nearly $1.5 billion worldwide, becoming one of the highest-grossing films of all time. And this was after the pandemic, when many wondered if people would ever return to theaters in large numbers. While his personal life remains private and sometimes controversial, his professional ethic is legendary. Miles Teller summed it up. "Tom told me something I'll never forget. He said, 'Miles, we have a responsibility to the audience. They work hard for their money, and they're choosing to spend it and their time with us. So every day we step on set, we owe them our absolute best. Not just good, the absolute best we're capable of." And he lives that every single day. For better or worse, Tom Cruise represents a dying breed in Hollywood. The all-in, no-limits movie star who views entertainment as a sacred responsibility and is willing to risk everything to deliver it. As audiences, we may never know the real Tom Cruise behind the carefully controlled image, but what we do know is that when we buy a ticket to his movies, we're going to see something that pushed human capabilities to their absolute limits. And as he approaches his mid-60s with no signs of slowing down, one thing is certain. In an industry built on fake explosions and CGI heroics, Tom Cruise remains defiantly, dangerously real. Whether he's actually insane or just that dedicated depends on who you ask, but one thing's for sure. We'll never see another star quite like him again.